Hello, Aural Skills. It's Ms. Cary, and welcome to your week 3 video. I hope everyone is doing well in the course so far. It's new to be teaching Aural Skills all online, so if you have any suggestions for me or comments about anything, please let me know. So this week, it's gonna kind of shift into a higher gear. We're gonna learn all the other intervals. So far we've learned the perfect unison, the perfect octave, and major and minor seconds. And now we're gonna learn all the other intervals and then learn to listen and identify them. So the easiest way to learn to identify them is to memorize the common songs that start off with that interval. And I put a list on the Moodle page, so be sure to check that out because that helps a lot. Like "Here Comes the Bride" is perfect fourth. So that, if you can memorize that, that can really help a lot. The other surefire way is if you can recognize half steps, you can count up by half steps in your head, sing them in your ears, and get the right answer by counting up by half steps. What else? Or I like to divide them up into two groups: consonants and dissonance. The intervals whose wavelengths work well together, a simpler ratio, and then the intervals that clash and are traditionally in music are used to produce tension. Use the dissonant intervals to produce tension, and then you resolve the tension to the closest consonant intervals. So maybe that would help you. I'll put them in two categories: consonant and dissonant. People, it's kind of a spectrum. People argue about whether thirds and sixths are dissonant or not, but I'll just put that in the middle. You can decide for yourself, because we'll just use it as a way to remember them. But first, let's see. Let's learn the intervals in the major scale, the ones that naturally occur, because that's here comes an airplane, sorry about that. That's a way we can practice them. That is something I do. If you can remember what the notes of the scale sound like, number them 1 to 8, then you can recognize, like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, major third. You can use math to count how far apart they are. So anyway, it's a big undertaking, and I hope that you all might practice a little more this week, because it's going to be hard if you don't. Okay, let's get started. Let's sing the scale and name the intervals. And if you learn it like a little song and you practice this little song and memorize it, name it, then hopefully when you hear those two notes, no matter what scale it's in, you'll recognize, oh, that's a perfect fifth. So, all right. So the ones that occur naturally in the major scale are, of course, the perfect unison. So what we're doing is we're going to start at the number 1 note and then go to each note, name the interval. So, second note, I'll just tell you what they are. Major second. Major second. To the third note, major third. I'm writing them stretched out too much. Perfect fourth. Perfect fifth. major 6, major 7, perfect octave. All right. Let me do that a little better. I'll write them up as we sing them. So this is my keyboard. I wrote the notes for the key of C because the key of C doesn't use any sharps or flats. But you could use whatever scale you like and just use the numbers because the numbers are movable. Okay? So I know some of you all do not sing in the same range that I do, so I'll do it in 2 different keys. I found that in the country music world, I usually sing in a women's voice, and the male's part is about 1/4 the way. So I'll sing it in C, and then we'll go down to 1, 2, 3, 4, down to G. And that'll be for the lower voice people. So hopefully one of these keys will work for you. All right, but you can figure it out with your instrument and find the key, whichever key. Okay, so let me get a starting note from my guitar. C. I'm going to use the numbers. So first we'll do perfect unison. 1, 1, perfect unison. Great, that's how it works. Then 1 to 2, major 2nd. So we start on the same C. Can you remember that C? Here we go. 1, 2, major 2nd. Good. Then major 3rd. 1, 3, major 3rd. 1, 4, perfect 4th. 1, 5, perfect 5th. 1, 6, major 6th. 1, 7, major 7th. 1, 8, perfect octave. That's a little high. See if I'm in tune. So the scale do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So use the notes of the major scale and sing the number 1 note with each note in the scale, and then name the interval. Now the scale does not have all the possible notes in it. It only has the ones the diatonic scale uses. Now if you have questions about scales, hold on to those because we're going to go over scales in a later module. But hopefully you know the melody of the scale, and that's what I was counting on to be able to use this. All right, so there are some intervals in between some of these intervals. Oh, I was going to tell you whether they're consonant or dissonant. So perfect unison, what do you think? How well do the wavelengths work together? Perfectly. Okay, so that is, I'll write the word consonant. It's a consonant sound. It's from the Latin with sound. The sounds work with each other. So consonant. The next simple wavelength is the octave. So I'll put a con abbreviated there. Which one do you think is consonant next? The fifth comes next. So consonant. The fourth, consonant. Now, thirds and sixths, some people say those are disturbing. Those have a lot of disturbance. I think of them as consonant, but you can argue with me that they might be dissonant for you. But, so I'm going to put a consonant. And then most everyone agrees that the seconds, you know, they're right next to each other. Their wavelengths don't match up. They fight. So that is dissonant. And the sevenths are dissonant. Okay, because we stopped and started, let's sing it again in a row and listen and see if you agree with whether, so dissonant means against the sound. The wavelengths are more complex. So, you know, this might help you remember them. The two groups, consonant or dissonant. Which intervals are the consonant ones? So can you remember the C? I think. Yep. C, and then we'll go to G. 1, 2, ready, go. C, oops. False start. That was just for practice. I'm going to use the numbers. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, perfect unison. 1, 2, major second. 1, 3, major third. 1, 4, perfect fourth. 1, 5, perfect fifth. 1, 6, major sixth. 1, 7, major seven. 1, 8, perfect octave. Okay, that's good practice. Memorize that little tune. I would say pause this here and practice that 3 times if that's your key, so that it's just familiar to your ears with the labels right after them. Let's do the same thing in G. Now that would mean, here's a G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, plonk, F sharp, G is at the top. The reason G is a sharp is because scales have to be whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. See how they're not symmetrical? It's not evenly spaced. That's what gives them gives them the tension and release. So, all right. So just now, this will be 1, this will be 2, and just do it in your head. All right. Let me find. So remember the C. C. Can you find a G? 5 notes. 1, 2, do, re, mi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that should be a G. Take it down octave. That should be a G. I hope I'm right. That's a G. I was flat, but I was close. That's a G. All right. All together. 1, 2, together, go. 1, 1, perfect unison. 1, 2, major second. 1, 3, major third, 1, 4, perfect fourth, 1, 5, perfect fifth, 1, 6, major sixth, 1, 7, major seven, 1, 8, perfect eight. Okay, that's a big practice assignment for you. Learn to recognize those intervals and name them, the intervals in the major scale. So next we'll go over the intervals that are in between, the half steps that are left out, and that will give us the extra intervals. So from 1 to 2, I'm going back to C, from 1 to 2, there's a half step in between. So that's the minor second, so you know that. Minor second. Both seconds are dissonant. So minor second is a half step. So that's the other way. I'm going to direct you to Jason's textbook, Jason DeCristofaro's music theory textbook, which is located on Moodle, and it has everything about the music theory associated with what we're learning to hear. And he has a list of each interval and how many half steps is in each one. And so if you're going to take the half step route, you need to memorize that chart or learn how to make a mental map and figure it out. And my mental map is piano keyboard. I visualize it, I go in my head, and I count up by half steps. There's a half step, and then you add that one, and then you add that one, and then you add that one. So that's from here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. So major third is 4 half steps. So that says bloom. Okay, 4 half steps. In between major second and major third is a half step. So if you take a major interval, shorten it by a half step, you get the minor interval. So we go down a half step, that means we take one of these half steps away, get the minor third, which will be 4 half steps. Not 4 and a half, that's a little confusing. Let's put an H. 4 half steps. 4. Oh, I'm glad I did that because this will be 3 and a half, right? Three, right? 1, 2, 3 is a minor third. That's correct. Whew, almost messed that one up. So if our, no, I'm not even gonna know what note this is. Here's a note. It might be a C. But we'll take that note, go up a half step, go up a half step, go up a half step. Remember the first note, remember the third note, minor third, 1 flat 3, minor third. So minor third is in between minor second, major third. All the thirds are considered consonant. I mean, in my brain. So I would like for you to go to Teoria and start learning these things. Perfect fourth can't have major or minor. Perfect fourth sounds like a perfect fourth. In between the major third and perfect fourth, there's nothing. So we're good there. In between the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth, there's a half step. So, because there's not major and minor associated with the perfect intervals, when we raise the perfect fourth a half step, we get an augmented fourth, lower. This is the half step in between these two, so lowering is also called a diminished fifth. So the augmented fifth, fourth, diminished fifth, and it has a word name, the tritone. Now these guys, they all sound the same. It's all the same two notes. So in C, it'd be C to F sharp would be the perfect fourth because F is the fourth. And if you go C to G flat, it'd be the diminished fifth. And, or you could just call it the tritone. But it's still C, C, F sharp, tritone. And that is supposed to be the most dissonant interval. They called that the devil's interval, and it was banned from the church in medieval and Renaissance times. Okay, in between the fifth and the sixth, we have a half step available. So we call that minor sixth. We'll listen to them when we go inside and look at the piano. Be easier than me singing them to you. I just wanted to teach you that scale singing exercise so that you can memorize that, and that'll help you. Learn the commonly used songs that start with the interval. There's a chart that said, like, here comes the bride, perfect fourth. So that's on Moodle. Check in with those. Lots of different ways to memorize these. All right, let's keep going through. Between the major sixth and the major seventh, we have a half step. That's a minor, that makes it a minor seventh. All the sevenths are dissonant. All the sixths are consonant. Perfect fifth, perfect fourth consonant, but the tritone dissonant. All the thirds are consonant. Both the seconds are dissonant. Of course the unison's consonant, and of course the octave's consonant. So this might look like a mess, but let's refer to Jason's textbook for all the information neatly laid out if you need to get it in your brain. I'm more, because it's aural skills, I am more concerned with you getting it in your ears, so that when you hear two notes within an octave, you can tell me which one it is. Maybe first step, is that consonant or dissonant, which narrows it down. And then count up or remember the songs and give it the right label. All right, so that's on you. You got to figure that out. Gave you some tools. If you need help and you'd like an ear training lesson with me, I'm available for that via Zoom, and schedule a time. I can do 15-20 minute practice session with you, answer any questions if this stuff starts to get hard. So anyway, stay in touch, and let's go inside and do some practice drills with the piano.